He goes into this sex shop. Babies can't hear this yet, can they?
What? The clinical memory doesn't set in until 3.
Okay.
Right.
So, right. So he goes into this sex shop to buy poppers to bun his boyfriend, right? And he says to the person behind the, behind the counter, that he doesn't want those. He wants the under the counter stuff. So they gave him like this. Anal nitrate?
Not anal nitrate.
Anal nitrate. Yeah. They gave him this stuff, and
although that's what it's for. Yeah.
Apparently, he said that he wanted just to see what it was. See what it was.
Is this
like.
another one of those stories where you say it's someone else, but in fact this is something that happened to you? Is this where your problems stem from?
No. So he walks.
You know what it was like. He walks used it before.
He walks. Well, no. But this stuff is like super, like duper stuff. Apparently, so he goes out. He goes out into the car park, and he's a bloody idiot because he was intending on driving after he did this. But apparently the effects wear off quite quickly. So he said he'd be safe. Anyway, so he's in the car park. He sniffs the stuff, passes out, and poos himself. I guess you had to be there.
It's alive! Let's show this prehistoric bitch how we do things downtown.
Welcome to Empire of Baby. This week, it's we've been away for a week. I'm sorry, of Geek. Been away for a week because everyone's been having babies, haven't they?
I've not.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, Raoul's not had his baby
You've got your
yet.
flashlight on your mobile. What sort of IT expert are you?
What happened there?
He's expecting it though.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
He's not his baby yet.
So,
what do you want, Rob? Boy or girl?
What?
oh,
If I had to have a baby?
Yeah.
Why would I want a baby?
anyway.
To further your genes so that you'll have something.
So we've got a full house tonight. With us, we've got Catface Paul. How you doing?
I'm alright.
You've just seen a corpse, haven't you? You're quite shocked when you came in.
That's not anything to joke about though, because that's real.
No one's joking about it, but it's true, didn't you? So if you're a little bit less funny than normal, that'll be the excuse. Forever. Raoul, how are you?
You've already asked me this.
I know, but I'm going to cut that bit out because you told us a shit story. So how are you now? And be funny.
How are
That's
you
me
now?
guaranteed.
That'll do.
Now you've been at a stag do this week, and you went to some dirty strip club, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you
it was more a stag shouldn't have.
yes.
A stag don't.
Which one was it, Rob?
Which what? Raoul.
Which strip club did you go to?
I can't remember. I didn't
How
participate.
many are there?
Was it in fact a strip club, or was it in fact just...
I didn't participate and I sat on my hands, so...
Was that so that after you left you could perform The Stranger?
What's the strategy?
the royal wank?
What?
Where you, as if you don't know. where a chap will supposedly sit on his hand so he has no feeling in it and then perform an act upon himself and it feels like a stranger's doing it.
Well, as I wake up in the morning with pins and needles because I've got poor circulation.
Dead hand.
Lucky me!
Lucky me, yeah.
Can you imagine? That'd be terrible. The body of international podcaster Raoul has been found, suffered a heart attack. It appears that rather than calling the ambulance when he suffered the pins and needles, he went into a massive, long self-abuse session. That'd be...
Well, that happens in my feet as well. My feet go numb too.
Wow, are you
You're quite
that
limber,
flexible?
Turf.
I mean,
I have to give them a shake in the morning and then the feeling comes back.
This is still your feet, isn't it?
Yes.
So there we go. So Raoul's got bad circulation. There's my fair lady over there, Lisa, who's had a little baby, haven't we? That's why we weren't here last week. Little baby Sam, who is now the youngest podcaster in the world. He did make a noise then, so that counts as well. We've got Andy here. Have you made any babies this week?
No,
You got close to making any babies.
No.
But you
Safety
tried.
first.
We've got Dr. G.
hello.
You've also been making a baby with our final two guests on the show. We've got Dr. Erin and your baby. And can you pronounce the name for me? Because
Ashling.
Oh,
That's an
Ashling.
Irish
I thought
name,
it was.
isn't it?
Yes.
Ashling, yeah.
Yeah.
And who is the second youngest podcaster in history as well? So if we can manage to go the whole show without someone pooing themselves, Raoul, sorry, I'm talking about. Now, before we got started tonight, I suggested a game to the chaps and the ladies here called Russian Poulette. I've come into. I'm sorry, Andy.
It's you.
I've managed to lay my hands upon some very powerful laxative, and I've suggested that one of the drinks that we have tonight is laced with that, and we're going to see who's got it. But we haven't done it yet, obviously. But is anyone up for playing Russian Poulette? It's a game of gentlemen.
Is it going to happen, or have you inflicted it upon us?
Maybe. No, I haven't inflicted it. I think it'd be a criminal offence if I did that without asking your permission. But
Yeah.
But nobody would have to take it to court, Steve.
are you up for?
Have you taken it?
No, I've not brave enough yet.
If you'd have tried it out first of all, that would have been fairer.
You can become dependent on it and look with a slack backside. So
Well, Raoul did tell us. You told us a horror story, didn't you?
it can weaken all the muscles.
About a young boy from the Welsh Valleys who got himself hooked on lactulose, would regularly be doing, 14 dumps a day, and then it ended up with him inadvertently turning himself inside out, technically. But he turned things around and he set himself up as a businessman. Is that not true, Raoul? If you don't have a Hallmark film made about your life...
Turn things around by putting his finger up his bosom.
Yes.
It's just
So is anyone up for a game of Russian Poulette?
no.
I
I'm
think I'm in for
chemically
it.
contraindicated, so no.
No one else? Do you want to try a bit of it?
I keep myself regular with a balanced diet, fruit and vegetables. I
Raoul,
don't
do
think I
you
need
want to
it.
try a bit of it?
And it was his public school education that taught him that.
What, fruit and vegetables?
Anyway, let's get on with the show
They're
then.
better than taking laxative.
We've got a lot to talk about tonight. If you finish talking underneath me, I'll start again. We've got a lot to talk about.
Sorry, Podmaster.
That's okay then. Shit house. The first thing we're going to talk about is a new upcoming TV show called Ash vs Evil Dead. I'm a massive fan of the Evil Dead films, and particularly of Bruce Campbell. And what they've suggested is that, was it 2012, 2013, they made a kind of a remake of the Evil Dead, which did okay, but no one was in a rush to see a sequel. And it seems that because that film was good, but because it wasn't the old Evil Dead, there's an interest in making a TV show, and it's been announced this week that the Stars Network has put some cash into it. There's going to be 10 episodes. Now, Bruce Campbell's going to return as Ash. They're not going to get a new character in it. He's going to be this aging Lothario who has spent the last 30 years avoiding any responsibility, living in a caravan, I think it is, and he works in I think it'll be the S-Mart he works in. And it turns out that the Deadite plague falls upon Earth, and it calls upon him and a as unyet announced male and female younger cast members will join him in fighting the dead plague.
Doesn't he get, in the last one, doesn't he forget something to do and he wakes up like a million years later?
I slept for too long!
Yeah.
Yes, and then this alternative ending where he does get it back home.
Right, so this is following on from the alternative ending, I take it?
I'm going to assume that, but there's no official word on that. So they're going to make 10 episodes of it. They're going to be 30 minutes each. The first episode is going to be directed by Sam Raimi. Robert Tapper, who worked on all the original first films, is also involved with it.
And on Xena.
And
is now married to Lucy
Lawless.
Lawless.
They're all going to be involved with it, and it looks like it's going to be cool. So as I said, Sam Raimi's directing the first episode, 10 episodes of it, and it's going to air sometime this year on the Stars Network. Dr. Bell, what do you think about that?
Brilliant.
I love Bruce. Do you like Bruce Campbell?
I absolutely love Bruce Campbell. I think he's really, dare I say, I think he's really underrated as an actor. Not so much in the Evil Dead films, but there are other films where I think he's fantastic.
What other films has he done?
He's had bit parts and loads.
What's the Egyptian?
Bubba Hotep.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
that's
Bubba
fantastic.
He stars as Elvis Presley in a care home.
Well, yeah, or an impersonator, depending how you look at it.
Yeah, but still, it is fantastic.
It is either him or an impersonator.
But he's genuinely very good, and it's quite moving because he's dying of cancer.
Yeah.
And but in a weird way, it's. I actually watched that and thought, God, actually, yeah, he can act. He's really good. But yeah, I really like Bruce Campbell, and I'm very excited about this. Quite tragically, very excited about this.
I am as well. I cannot wait to see him in it.
And the best thing about this is, from my point of view, is there's not going to be another origin story because he's now 70 or something. But the other thing is that in the first Evil Dead film, he was a bit of a
Wimp, wasn't he?
wimp, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
developed. He was a wimp. Then in the second one, he was a bit more. And then by the
Gung-ho.
third film,
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell versus the Army of Darkness.
But he always
was-
plays a sort of character who is reluctant in a sort of I can't be asked type way, and then he sort of turns it around. That sort of seems to be his shtick, really.
I think in this one, he's going to be just as unwilling to get involved. But I think they're going to say that he's going to have some kind of almost similar to a soldier suffering some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder type thing, that he will have a bit of that. But he'll be using the fact that he's got a stump for an arm to try and pull the ladies with made-up stories and things like that.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be cool. Andy, are you a big fan of Bruce Campbell? If cheese could
As
kill.
long as there's no other follow-up questions, then yes, I am.
He was in Spider-Man. He played a bit part in this Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. He was in Maniac Cop 2. He got killed quite quickly in that one.
He was in some acts in Burn Notice.
Yes, that's probably one of his most famous roles in recent times. In that one.
In what? In
Burn Notice.
Yeah.
Notice. What's that about?
It's about a agent who gets burned. That's not him, by the way, but that's Jeffrey Donovan. And he then has basically two allies, which is Sam Axe, who actually was informing on him, and his ex-girlfriend.
Who originally was Irish in the pilot.
Yeah,
Suddenly a voice change.
that's hilarious. And in the intro, she always says Miami in a sort of Irish way, and then they got rid of that. Basically, they said, "Oh yeah, I've lived in the US for too long."
I have no Irish accent.
Yeah, that's
Since the pilot, I've lost my accent. That's what they did.
what was she called? Anwar, Gabrielle Anwar.
But she was an explosive expert, wasn't she?
Yeah. That works so well because Sam Axe was like the honourable, apart from his drinking and sort of being sort of a bit burnt out, but he's sort of the honourable, strong. It would have worked so well as a computer game as well, because you've got the three, like the thief, the rogue, and the it's almost like and the paladin almost. It's really good.
So there you go, Burn Notice roleplay game. We've actually got some. We've been sent a comic book to talk about tonight, but we also got tweeted by a Turkish company who are developing a piece of gaming kit that they want us to talk about.
All right.
Now I was going to show you
What's it
little
called?
video. But let it be a surprise.
Okay.
It's not going to rip your company off, don't worry, Raoul. Although I have sent them all your schematics and told them exactly what you're doing, so you're screwed. No, it's all
I hope the product
new.
is called Delight, because then it will be Turkish Delight.
Oh my god!
I'm sleep deprived, what can I say?
That week off has affected everyone. So yeah, are you a fan of the Evil Dead films, Paul?
I've never actually watched any of them. I don't think. There was an
It's a
original from the
franchise.
1970s,
It's
isn't
a
there?
franchise in his eyes. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is it? Well,
It's actually a
how many times
franchise,
has it been
to be fair.
remade? I
Well,
don't
Evil
know.
Dead 2 is one of the films. Because Evil Dead 2 is very, very similar to the first Evil Dead. In
Yeah.
fact, you can edit the two together into one film. That's what we always used to say at uni.
Yeah. Wasn't it made in the 1970s originally?
Is
Evil
it?
Dead?
Was it 19? If it's
Or 1980s?
1980, it was
Yeah,
one
like
of the
early
original
80s.
film video nasties
Yeah.
that got it.
Yeah.
But the second film is considered better than the first film. It's one of the few examples of a sequel, other than The Godfather and stuff, which is regarded higher than another good
But I
film.
like The Walking Dead.
So do we all. Raoul, at university, you regularly told us that you had a friend, surprisingly, who owned a cinema who could get us banned films. You kept saying you were going to get us a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We waited so long for it that the film was then passed by the BBFC.
You then turned up with the DVD. I've got it.
What? Because you did tell us in the first you could get us any film. You never got us any films. But what's your thoughts on The Evil Dead and this TV show? Because we often bitch about them taking an idea and taking it too far. In previous episodes, we have all complained about that. But are you a huge fan?
I think this will work though, because Evil Dead has always been a bit tongue in cheek and a bit throwaway and a bit, you can more or less take it anywhere because it is inherently absurd. So I reckon they'll find plenty of material to eke out for 10 episodes easily.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think
half
it'll be
an hour
exciting.
as well.
Yeah, only 30 minutes each. It could be pretty cool. So that gets a big thumbs up from us. But the next thing I want to talk about is we spoke ages ago about Thunderbirds Go.
It looks tragic.
It's brilliant.
Really?
I know I slagged it off,
What?
but I've changed my mind. I
Really?
really liked
Really?
it. I thought it was
Yeah.
really good.
I've seen something on the TV. I've just seen an advert for it, and I just thought when I saw the animation, well, they've gone for CGI. They've gone for computer generated. It's not going to be the same. I actually envisaged it being, models again.
Are there
They've
only
taken-
male characters in it?
I don't know.
No, there's KO, who is a female character. She gets her own Thunderbird S at the end of it. She's the best fighter out of all of them, and she's like this espionage. And there's Lady Penelope
Yeah.
and Parker.
Does it matter that they've used CGI? Do you think then? in that
Well, do you know
case?
what? When we did this, first of all, and the reason why I want to mention this again is because we did it, give it a bit of a kick in, quite frankly, on the podcast and I was one of the first to put my big hobnailed, boots on and give it a kick. But I watched it after watching Reggie Yates did a special Thunderbirds behind the scenes show, and it shows them going to Weta in New Zealand. All the backgrounds have been built. It's all the characters are CGI, but they actually build and they film it with model backgrounds. The models look amazing, and there's also lots of homages to the original series.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning, they get a call, and who's the one who has the one that goes underwater? Is it Gordon? I'm trying to think. Gordon is watching an old episode of Stingray. This is all my favourite shows on, but it's just really. I liked it. I think the CGI is the weakest part of it, but some of the actual models and stuff they've made, there's a bit in the first episode where they go under the water and they find this giant big spider type sea base that's collapsing. It looks brilliant.
So you can get over it then, do you think?
I got over it. Some of the criticisms that I saw of this was that there was too much action, they said. From the very beginning, too much was going on.
I think
liked
it is difficult when you've watched something and you've got such a love for it, and then I guess things need to be reinvented. So maybe that's one of the arguments, and also it's a time-consuming thing.
Plus, kids have got
I'm
less attention.
talking here.
You do a lot of talking, though.
Gentlemen, there's only one way to solve this: Russian poulette. Fetch me the glasses.
I'll tell you when I finish.
Yeah.
I finished.
Yeah.
You can continue there. No, actually, I was just going to say one other thing, actually, if you don't mind. Sorry, Rolf. Just wind you up. I never hit you.
Raoul.
Raoul. I'd never hit you in the face. I'd go for somewhere where you didn't bruise. Like your nads.
Can we get on with this?
What?
For a start, he's got one nad. We've covered that already, and it's like a space hopper. If you punched it, you would fall over.
What
It
do you
would
cover
come
it
back
in?
at
Marmite for the dog.
you. Marmite.
Marmite for the dog. I was going to say, no, I really like Adventure Time, and I had a real bloody shock the other day because some of the later series are completely CGI generated, aren't they? They've completely changed the animation techniques. They're trying to include it to make it look a little bit like the original animations, but they've changed it to CGI, and I don't know, it's just a bit of a, I don't like this.
It's like some of the new Danger Mouse. They were going to release, I don't know if they've done it yet, a new Danger Mouse, and it was going to be CGI, and I didn't like the look of that.
But there's a theory which is that when robots look too much,
The Valley of the something it's called,
the
isn't
Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
Have I mentioned? I might have mentioned that before. But
I don't think I have, but I've read about it.
Okay, yeah.
I just wonder, is it used as a technique to make to attract people?
No, it's basically a pitfall which robot designers are hoping not to fall into. Basically, you're making more more human-like, or lifelike robots or androids. But there's a point at which it's sort of good, but not quite, and that's quite unnerving. So there's maybe not enough facial mimicry going on or whatever. And it would be better if they just looked like robots at that point. And if you could just determine that, because then you would know that they were completely evil and bent on taking over the world.
Well,
Have you seen? Sorry, go on. You go first.
I was saying, Megaman's building robots for care homes, and they've gone out of their way to make them look like cartoon characters, to make them look like not remotely human at all, simply because of that. Because
these poor dears in their care homes, and then Donald Duck comes walking out.
If you're suffering from senile dementia, that's the last bloody thing you want to see. It's like, have I just seen that? Have I not?
Well, you don't want like,
He's so lovely,
some
Daffy
weird
Duck.
kind of like demonic looking, like not quite human
dementia.
fish.
You don't want that either. You don't. But I mean, if you play with somebody who's just going into the first throes of dementia, it's going to really mess around with them, isn't it?
Remind them to take it. And stuff like that.
Do you know what I've got
just
to
keep
say?
them company, really.
I've got to say, I'm against that. I'm completely against that because I
Old
think
people getting the right medicine.
yes.
You're a monster.
I say play Russian
Roulette with them.
No, I'm against that because I have a relative that's in
Whose
a care home.
colostomy bags pop first? That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
No, it hasn't. Well, my relatives. No, that's no. So what we're talking about here?
So you're on about.
It doesn't remove the human care. It complements.
Oh right, so there would be human care.
Of course there would be.
Like,
Of course there would
right,
be.
okay.
It's just.
Because those guys need, they need medals really for the work they do.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
actually having that human contact is really, really important.
Definitely, it would be there. These things are there to assist, not to replace. Because
can I make a socialist point and say rather than medals, how about pay?
Well, I was also going to say, I think
conditions.
I think the idea of robots replacing people who can do that job anyway, I'd be against.
It's not really
Because
a
it's just a
socialist point.
cost-cutting
It's just
exercise.
Luddites.
Conservative.
Everyone's getting
Right
old.
wing. No, I am against it. I'm against it in principle. Because it does take away. It takes away, jobs from people, doesn't it?
I think the
Well,
point.
it depends. It depends.
Isn't
What
this
the
Geeky
robots are
podcast?
doing.
Don't it?
Well, we can add in other stuff. But I was just going to say, you know what you were saying about you're not a big fan of that. I think, like Raoul was saying, that it would supplement it as well. The idea that you could make a robot that looks almost human, that doesn't fall into the valley of the uncanny and freak people out, that could then interact, would be better than nothing whatsoever. But as Dr. G pointed out, when you do have a robot that, to all intents and purposes, looks human but has none of the kind of the empathy or the facial responses, it is quite scary. Andy,
I've got too much emotion. That's my problem.
Stop taking the steroids.
yeah, it's all wheatgrass and hard work, isn't it? With you,
Actually,
It is, and jokes.
and just display one emotion, and that's anger, isn't it? Because steroids can do
When
that,
have I
too,
ever
can't they?
displayed anger? It's
When a
because
man-
Raoul is
Oh my god, are you
steroids.
the Hulk?
I remember a guy spilling his drink on your back once, and you were meant to have gone crazy. That's what I remember. Someone telling me that story.
I didn't go crazy.
Andy flipped out.
I can't imagine Andy
You
ever
ripped the shirt
flipping
off your
I
back.
just beat him to death in front of his family.
Anyway, we're talking about Thunderbirds a go. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fast pace of it, and what I enjoyed even more was I was expecting it just to be more of the same of the Thunderbirds TV show, but Jeff Tracy, the dad, isn't in it anymore. They've not really said what's happened to him, other than it was an accident. The hood was behind it, and you get the impression that he may or may not be dead. He's just missing somewhere, and I love that. It reminds me of the first episode, the first season of Supernatural, where they were trying to find the dad, but you don't really know. So it's all about the lads, the boys, the Tracy boys, on their own trying to do the best.
They all,
That sounds terrible.
they're all brothers, aren't they?
Yes.
Is that Lady
Well,
Penelope?
that's a genetic impossibility. One of them's illegitimate.
No.
You can't have.
How do you know this?
Right, you've got. In order to have a brunette, a ginger, right, you have to have.
One of them flies a spaceship, for God's sake,
Yeah,
Rob.
yeah. But in order to produce a ginger offspring, both parents have to carry a ginger gene. Now they'll have.
So that if you're blonde,
Yeah.
then you can have the ginger mutation in you, that potential for it, and you can have both the parents should be dark haired, right?
Yeah.
But they could have a blonde recessive gene, and if you then pass that on, you've got a 1/4 chance of the child being blonde. So 2 blondes out of 5. Is
Yeah.
actually
So the
okay.
odds of having a ginger next to
No. If you've got anybody can be ginger. Look at Scotland and oh dear, I shouldn't have said that.
Well, do you know what? Actually,
Scotland is a lovely place, but Ireland.
dark
actually,
land
Ireland.
overrun with
I didn't mean
homosexuals.
Scotland.
You
I
need
didn't
to-
mean Scotland.
Well,
I meant
You
Ireland
need to have the
because
carrier, though. It's a genetic impossibility.
no, Ireland. It's a mutation. Ireland have a ginger sort of festival basically,
right.
and they bring like loads of.
Is that when they render them up and boil them down?
Do you know what that is actually? It's
It's
because it's actually the natural hair colour of Norway, and it's actually a
Hair
Norwegian.
colour of Norway.
Yes, it is. It says, hear me out. It comes from Bergen. They've actually traced it down
Okay.
to small communities just outside of Bergen, because I don't know if you watched the TV programme about 6-7 years ago. They did a national swabbing of DNA from people's mouths all along the east coast of England, up towards Newcastle, around the top of Scotland, and into Ireland as well. And they found that a lot of people had this gene, this DNA gene, originally from Bergen, and they took the same DNA swabs from Norway. Ginger hair is the national hair colour of Norway. You're thinking blonde, aren't you? You're thinking blonde hair, right?
No, I'm not. I just don't think you could say a nation has a natural hair colour.
It's true. That's
How
where
can,
it
how,
originates
how
from.
can a nation be connected to a hair colour?
Because they
Easy.
infiltrated all the way through, all the way to the Midlands. The Vikings did.
Chinese people pretty much all got very dark hair, unless they bleach it. There you go. There's a nation associated with
And
hair
when
colour.
they bleach it, it goes ginger.
Yes.
There's a connection.
The Celts.
Huh.
Celts as well. They had famously very dark hair, didn't they?
Originally, yes.
Yes. So anyway, Thunderbirds a go. Been all over the shop. Yeah, I really liked it, and I'm going to watch more of it. I'm really excited about it.
Has the first episode been on yet?
Yes, but you get it on the iPlayer, which is where I watched it. It was
Okay.
very fast paced and
Was
kind
it
of got
iPlayer
straight
or
to it.
ITV player? I thought it was ITV.
I just got ITV player.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, next thing I want to talk about is Trek Back to TV. I've been reading about, on the Latino Review, they claim that CBS Channel is looking to bring Star Trek back to the TV. Partially based, they believe, on an old Star Trek pitch called Star Trek Federation. About a decade ago, before J.J. Abrams started making the new films, there was two different ideas that were brought out by different groups to make new Star Trek TV shows. One of the ideas was to reboot it, which then got kind of dropped because J.J. Abrams did his version. And the other idea was this idea put together by Robert Burnett, Bryan Singer, Christopher McQuarrie and Jeffrey Thorne called Star Trek Federation. And the idea behind this was that it would be set in the far future of the Federation, way past Deep Space Nine and all that kind of stuff. And it would be set in a world where all of the different kind of planet types have moved on. So Klingon are now kind of mystic warriors. The Vulcans have broken away from the Federation and they've kind of rejoined with Romulans and they've kind of formed their own group. And the Federation has become very much kind of... Can you stop? You take your... Put your little hand out of that box of chocolates. All I can hear is you rustling. It's off-putting.
Oh, me?
No, not you. I'm not going to say who it was.
I
Raoul.
was just having you read a rappers.
His Raoul is drowning his sorrows in chocolate.
Yeah. So this idea from over 10 years ago of the Star Trek Federation seems to have come back again in this talk that there's going to be a TV show. It's been on a lot of the different websites that I used to, I'm scouring for news for this. And it could be quite interesting, the idea that you see all these different groups of people in the far future and a federation that's kind of gone soft. And so I imagine there'll be some new threat to them, which they're not kind of prepared to. But everything will have changed. The dynamic of the whole kind of universe of Star Trek has moved on and altered.
Sounds interesting.
Unfortunately, though, Robert Burnett, who was one of the guys associated with that, said, and I'll quote him, "All of the Federation information is true, but we did that 10 years ago. The treatment was written but effectively killed when JJ took over." That's J.J. Abrams. It never went further than the treatment, and no one ever pitched it. And I don't know if Jeffrey wrote a full script. While I've been working on Axanar, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and we are building sets, etc., I know nothing about a new CBS Trek series. As for currently working on something with Skydance, no comment. But if I were, it is not related to Trek anyway. So
That's a strong comment.
it looks like nothing is happening. But the idea of a new Star Trek TV show, what do you reckon? Let's go to... You're a Star Trek fan, aren't you?
Oh, I'm a massive Star Trek fan, yeah.
Would you like to see a new Star Trek TV show?
Oh, yeah, gotcha. I mean, it because it's always like, you know, it's like a box of chocolate. I can't do the accent at all.
Was that a German doing Forrest Gump?
There was a German Forrest Gump. But
Virginia
it's
accent.
you know, it might turn out to be a Next Generation. It might even turn out to be a DS9. It could be a Voyager. So, but you know, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
So a new series. I'll watch it and then I'll give you my comment on it. Just
Here's my standard answer.
yes, here's my standard. No, but I
Well, I don't know if they're gonna be one,
I
I
want them to take risks people said that Enterprise killed it off, essentially. And I'm not sure that's really true. I think it's the way that American television tends to work with, they don't like long-term storylines, long-term arcs, because they basically give it up into syndication and then it has to be standalone episodes. And I think that's much more of a threat to any sort of coherent storytelling over potentially 7 years. Which, of course, the Next Generation I love, don't get me wrong, but essentially every time Worf did anything and learned anything, in the next episode he was reset back to... I said this to a friend of mine who's a Star Trek fan as well. We always said this, they hit the character development reset button with Worf. And he just, and there were certain patterns as well with him. That he was only allowed to win in a hand-to-hand fight against other Klingons. So against Data he lost, against other aliens he always lost, So if it was a little bit like DS9, more of a long-term story, then that would be really, really good. And they, but it's difficult to obviously work out what they're exactly going for. But anything is better than nothing.
Worf always struck me to be almost like a teenager on board his dad, Captain Picard's kind of ship, because he was always getting told off for something.
Yeah.
And whenever he tried to do something himself, it tended
Starting
to go
a civil
wrong.
war.
In fact, Michael Dorn, who played him, I'm sure I read an interview years ago saying how he'd complained to the writer, saying, I've had enough of the fact that my character is always just getting bollocked.
Yeah.
All the time for being, a bit of a... for being aggressive or jumping to conclusions. But do you not think, if in the far future, where people are more understanding, that they would make a lot more leeway for Klingons? The fact that they're more violent, so we've got to...
Well, on DS9 he was a lot better, the character was a lot better, which is why I liked it, because he could learn...
He got away from Dad, he was at university.
Yeah.
That's basically
yeah, but no, he was genuine.
My big story basically is everyone's saying there's going to be, but if you look into the story, I think it's all hot air.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would want a series to take away from the films. So, to be honest, but you never know. Although if it was done well, it would feed into it.
So, do you think that a well-made TV series would actually show up the films CGI and special effects a little bit? Because there's only so much that you can throw at the screen.
In a series like Star Trek Next Generation, they were quite exploratory stories that went on for an hour each, weren't they?
I was going to say, I mean, in quite a few episodes, very little actually happens in terms of fighting. There was very little starships flying around. There was a lot of talking and a lot of... Yeah,
I always felt that that Next Generation was a hopeful series which really was investigating human beings in their best light, in a way to try and show how great the future of humanity was going to be, and that they were considerate, forward-thinking.
That is a good point, Paul. What people have also said is that Trek has always represented the issues of the day, such as the first black lady and white man kissing, through to, if you follow it through, it can cover, like all good science fiction should do, covers our issues but set in the future with aliens and all stuff like that. And
your liberal, forward-thinking utopians, utopian world, which I thought was everyone aspired to in the early 90s, I would say. What you were saying about the possible storyline for this is sort of touching on a slight dystopian within the Federation, which again, a piece of artwork, if it was to come out at this moment in time, would probably reflect how a lot of people feel about the world as it is. So if it was to investigate those themes, it would fit in. I think it would fit in really, really interestingly. Almost a little bit like, a lot of characters that are coming out of movies like, James Bond, not a perfect character anymore, is he? Or Batman, not a perfect character anymore, is he? They're not the plastic black and white, kind of cartoon characters they were.
Batman ever was.
I thought you were going to say they're not like comic book heroes anymore.
You know what I mean, though? I think that would be interesting if they were to investigate it with undertones of those sorts of things in it. I think that would make a very interesting.
Well, I think imagine if they did an episode on Ferenginar about the banking crisis.
They have.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's sort of it's essentially the women's lib.
I know. Women aren't allowed clothes, are they?
But it's precursored by some sort of they are economically in trouble and so on. And then suddenly the Grand Nagus comes up with the idea that if you liberate the women, and suddenly, half the population have as money in the pocket to spend.
That was one of the actual things in this treatment for this Star Trek Federation from over 10 years ago, that they wanted the Ferengis to have a female kind of Grand Nagus. She would have, their society would have become far more kind of fairer as part of it. So I'd love to see a new Star Trek TV show. I think what you were saying, I think it would show up the film just because of the fact that you're seeing things like Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead, where you can see a storyline spread out over a long period of time, where you can actually spend a significant amount of time with a character, is always going to win out over a film.
Yeah,
because you're going to spend time with them, and you
do you not think they serve different audiences, and they serve different audiences in the same audiences? Those people who like watching, longer series will still get something from that, and they still like, the idea that it's Star Trek, but at the same time, I like Star Trek. I've watched all of the Next Generation
Do you not
series,
think that?
And I've still watched the Star Trek movies as well. So it's a different hit you get from going to watch a.
But with Star Trek, you always had the TV series, and then the films kind of were like an exclamation point on the series, in that now we're going to see a film of the characters from the series.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now we're watching a film and there's no series. You could say it ties into the original series, but it doesn't anymore because they've gone off in their own kind of new kind of timeline.
Well, the
does not take away from it.
The movies have also investigated Kirk, haven't they? In his formative years, right? So far, right? So it's gone back to.
They show a little bit, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think I want to see a TV series that then the films fit to it. I don't want a series that's playing to the movies. That's a bad idea. I don't want 30 minutes of lens flare every week. I want cracking storylines rooted in.
But that's the point,
I just think people who are interested in a particular, a particular set of series, and films will go and watch it. A franchise like that, people will go and watch it because they love it.
And the writing in television series has really become a lot better, and the popularity of things like The Mentalist is partially because there was a long-term story arc, and people really got, so it was episodic, but a long-term story arc, and really with some of the Star Trek films, you felt it was like one episode stretched out over the entire film, really, and there was like some special effects to make it longer into a sort of film.
It's Insurrection.
all the odd ones, I think.
That was that. I liked it, but it was just a big episode.
Yeah,
so I felt like.
Well, a lot of them. I mean, Generations wasn't terrible, but it was basically 2 or 3 episodes stitched together. You could have easily seen that as a sort of cliffhanger to season 8, going into season 9 or something.
I was excited about seeing Kirk and Picard together, though. That was
Which
leads me on to. So I don't think there's going to be a Star Trek TV show anytime in the future. If they announce one next week, I'm just going to refuse to mention it on the podcast. So let's all pretend that that's covered. That the rest of the news outlets are all wrong with their highly paid reporters. There's not going to be any Star Trek TV show.
What if they brought back Firefly?
Yeah, but Wash is dead now.
He's quite middle-aged and a bit overweight now. Thingy Bob. Who plays the
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion, yeah.
He's still cool though.
Oh, he is. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Now, which leads me on to this. Now, one of the guys who just mentioned, that Robert Burnett, he is working within the kind of the Trek universe, and I started showing everyone this a little fan kind of film. It's not really a fan film though, because it's very high quality. It's a thing called Star Trek Axanar, which one of the conventions which we mentioned on the last episode mentioned. You can see part of this Axanar thing there, and it's a prelude to this to this battle that involved a hero that Kirk was a big fan of, the Battle of Axanar, and they're making this TV kind of version of it. They've got funding on Kickstarter, and they made a thing called Prelude to Axanar, which you can go and look at on YouTube, or you can go to it through Star Trek Axanar, all one word.com. And you can find this thing called Prelude to Axanar. It's to gain interest for a TV show that they're going to do, or a one-off film called The Battle of Axanar. Now, we didn't get to watch all of it, did we?
No.
But from the small amount you saw, the 3 minutes...
It was impressive.
Yeah, and the best thing about it is, in it there's a Klingon general. It's about this big battle between the Klingon Empire and the Federation, and the Klingon general is called something like General Khan, not Noonien Khan and all that, Noonien Singh Khan and all that stuff. He's played by Richard Hatch, who was Apollo in Battlestar Galactica, the original series. So I wanted to show everyone it so we could talk to you, dear listeners, about it, but unfortunately we didn't. It looks amazing. Go to www.StarTrekAxanar, spelled AXANAR.com. Have a look at what they're doing. The YouTube episode you can see is called Prelude to Axanar. It's done in the style of a historical documentary where it has scenes of battle, it has a narrator, then it has kind of talking heads from the Klingon general and the main Federation kind of captains and the head of the Federation at the time. And it was really good. So go and look at that. I think it's pretty cool. And it's by one of these guys who was kind of planning to bring back a Trek TV show 10 years ago, but it got kind of screwed over by the new J.J. Abrams film. So yeah, Star Trek Axanar, that's one of my picks to look at. But what I want to move on to now, and again, because the internet has gone down here, I wanted to show you all this, but I couldn't. It's the new James Bond Spectre trailer. Has anyone seen it?
No.
Hang on, hang on, I can get it up now.
We don't want to know about
That doesn't make your sexual prowess.
We're not getting it on our phones.
Yes, would you like to look at it on your phones?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably edit this bit out. So anyway, back in the room after watching that, those of us who could see it properly. So there's a new James Bond film coming out called Spectre. We've all just watched the teaser trailer for it, those of us who could see it. Are you excited for it?
Yes.
It's like a bit of Bond. Florian.
Yeah, I've not watched any of the Daniel Craig ones though, because they passed me by in the cinema, and what I heard about Skyfall wasn't. Oh no, Quantum of Solace. That sort of really put me off. What I heard about it. So apparently there was no storyline. What's that Skyfall? Or it didn't make sense
Quantum of
or
Solace I
whatever.
didn't think was quite as good as Skyfall.
Yeah.
I thought that was a better
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
But obviously...
I wasn't rushing. I'm not a hardcore Bond fan. So I'm not going to the cinema just to watch any old Bond. So.
I think there's something about James Bond that probably will pull a British man in to want to watch it more. I think it almost appeals to...
We killed a lot of Germans, didn't he?
Eh?
Well, Russians were one of his main
Russians, yeah.
Schmersh in the books, that's the Russian kind of group that he works against in some of the early novels. What a great name. It sounds like some kind of mashed potato thing, doesn't it? Like Smash. That's who was taking on, a little kind of metal-headed, fluffy...
Yeah, it looks good. Looks dark.
Before we go on to that...
Serious and sinister.
Just talking about Englishmen wanting to think they're all James Bond, I remember being in France, and I was walking near the Sacré-Cœur, and there's all these artists doing their stuff there. And there's some guy, and he shouted over to me, he went, "Hey, you on your picture doing?" I ignored him. He went, "Hey, do your picture." Carried on ignoring him, and he went, "Hey, you Mr. James Bond, turn round." And I turned round and started listening then. That's all he needed to say. I didn't get him to do a picture, though. He could piss off, but...
Yeah,
Still.
Did you shoot it with a Walther PPK?
No, he twatted him with his biro.
And his head blew up. So, yeah, we saw that. So, let me talk a little bit about the film, and then we can tell us what we thought about it. So, it's going to star, obviously, Daniel Craig. It's also going to have Christoph Waltz in, who's going to play a character called Franz Oberhauser. Now, a lot of people have been going on about the fact that Christoph Waltz, who we saw at the end of the trailer, going something like, "We've been expecting you, Mr. Bond," that he's going to play Blofeld. But he himself has said, "No, I'm not playing Blofeld in these films." Now, that doesn't mean that's true.
There's a lot of controversy about whether or not Blofeld is actually going to be in this film, isn't there?
Yes, well, because they're making the new, these are new versions kind of the films. They're condensing a lot. So they're thinking of combining Goldfinger with this film, and having Blowjob, who would be his.
Thing is, Odd Job.
Like
They've
that
got to
idea.
bring Odd Job back because Odd Job is a classic. Odd Job, Jaws. These are brilliant villains.
Blofeld.
Well, Blofeld was the best.
Jaws.
Blofeld was in loads of films, wasn't he?
And I think Blofeld, Jaws, up until this new film, them and Mr. White, who was in the first Bond film and in the second one of Daniel Craig's, were the only kind of characters other than Bond a bad guy, who carried on. You obviously had Felix Leiter, who was played by lots of different people, and the M's and all that. But yeah, I think they're the only 3 bad guys who've crossed from one film to another, which is very interesting.
Apparently, From Russia with Love and Thunderball, Blofeld's face was never seen. It was only until the later ones that it started to show.
We're going to talk a little bit about the character of Blofeld actually in a minute, and you've hit on something that's an interesting point. Well, interesting to me if you're a geek. But anyway, and this character that Christoph Waltz is going to play called Franz Oberhauser, the second name Oberhauser has already been featured in the books as in the Octopussy novelisation, but it wasn't Franz Oberhauser. And there's some speculation that Christoph Waltz will have been a legal guardian for a short time to James Bond after his parents were killed. Because in the trailer you see them holding like a picture of a young James Bond with, I assume, his father and somebody else. So I think there's going to be some kind of connection in the film between this old family friend who's now a leading figure within Spectre. Dave Bautista, who ex-wrestler and was also in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's going to be in it as the villainous assassin Mr. Hinks. Now he's a big tough guy. He could be a Blofeld type guy. Obviously not short, but it's going to be released in November 2015. It's the 24th Bond film. What did you think of the trailer then?
As I said, it looks really good.
Is it the cat's whiskers? Meow.
It was perfect.
It's got the cream.
Yeah. Have I? Can you see? No.
Is that why Raoul's flies have been undone since the show began?
Oh, what?
You know what I think about a lot of
Raoul's knobcast.
Why didn't you say anything?
Because it fitted in with the cat who got the cream. I was suggesting that he'd been filleting you.
That wouldn't fit in anything. Anyway,
Would it not? Is it an odd shape?
You know what I think about a lot of movies.
You're like James Bond, not bloody
reinvestigating.
movies. This film, what do you think?
No, I like James Bond movies. I do, but I feel that they're working well because they're investigating characters and putting a lot more meat on bones than they ever did before.
We're not like Rob anymore, are we?
We're not talking about Rob. No, I just think that they're investigating the characters in a lot more detail now. And I like the fact I've liked all of the new movies with Daniel Craig in there. I think he's probably one of the best James Bonds I've seen because he's more real.
After Roger Moore.
After Sean Connery, I say. I'm not going to go down this again. But I also think that they're doing a real good job of tying in current affairs, things that are happening in the real world, themes that are happening in the real world with these storylines as well. Because
there's just one danger, I think, with all of these sort of pre-sequel-y type things or whatever, is that you know that Blofeld has to survive. Or is it after?
Well, you don't know if Blofeld's in it.
Okay, but if it alludes to that, then is it going to change into James Bond in mild peril? Because what's the risk here? That some underling gets killed? Well, whoopsie.
Yeah, but this is always the case. I mean, you know that James Bond
is
going to survive.
I mean, basically, the sympathetic characters. That's who you care about. Now, you know that James Bond is going to survive. You know that the evil villain might. I'm already auditioning for the role. But it's then becomes very, very predictable. If you have a character who you know is going to survive, then
Bond's only survived like 25 times.
Yeah. You know, it's more. I'm talking more about the villain.
Well, I mean, again though, with Blofeld, yes, you know he survives in other films, subsequent films, because he's like the arch nemesis, isn't he? He's like the Moriarty to Bond,
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
What's that in an episode of Red Dwarf?
I like these movies more because of the battle that James Bond's happening with himself. You know, there's a lot of questioning about loyalty and traditional values.
There's Le Chiffre in the first one and Quantum, but not him sitting in a room going, "Oh, I've had to beat someone up. I feel so bad about it." Ooh. It's an internal struggle I love. Bond in a room. You'd love that, wouldn't you?
Bonding. What?
Yeah. Bondage.
Oh, it's the age of Bond. Age.
In this film, James Bond sits down and gives himself a damn good talking to.
And a spanking.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit sensitive today. Yeah, no, I think he is. I think he's a character kind of, you know. There are a lot of things, a lot of references to whether or not fighting for England's safety and all those sorts of things are outdated ideas.
You had that with Piers Brosnan, though. I remember Judi Dench going, "You're a dinosaur, Bond," and stuff to him.
Oh, which dinosaur was he?
He was a Diplodocus.
T-Rex? Diplodocus.
Yeah, if he had been to, it's been amazing, wouldn't it? That's what they used to do. Recast him as a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Combine Godzilla and the next James Bond.
Can you imagine that? Dun, dun, dun. I don't expect you to talk, Mr. Bond. I expect you to die.
Get a gun in his hand, would he? Like this.
He's a T-Rex. Does he need a gun?
No, but that would be quite funny if you only have to press the red button to stop the...
I can't with my tiny dinosaur hands.
I heard one rumour that they're renaming. You know, like Spectre stands for Special Executive for Terrorism, Revolution and Espionage.
Well, remembered.
Well, it's only because you've got it on your board.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But apparently, what they're trying to make out is that it's not revolution. They're trying to call it revenge. So it stands for Special Executive for Terrorism, Revenge and Espionage.
I don't think that's the weakness. I think the SP is the weakness. But it really is.
What, the SP?
Yeah, they couldn't think of anything for the P, so I had to
get
that from the
why would they be involved why would they be involved with revenge? Revolution makes far more sense. You know, they want to turn something over to become all powerful in charge of it. Revenge is...
Or maybe the idea that if you're wealthy enough, you can hire them to do stuff for you.
Oh, right. Well, just like, you kick my dog, so I'm going to have you assassinated, sort of thing.
Yes.
For the right price.
I'm watching you, actually, Paul.
Yeah.
You touched my dog's testicles last week.
And now I've got my foot up his bum, so what?
Why did you touch his
So I'll hire
Oh.
to come and get you.
Seftera.
Seftera. That's without the...
Seftri.
I've got away with dogs.
And the point about Spectre is that Spectre is meant to be a apolitical group who don't mind dealing with dictators or even kind of legitimate governments.
Yeah.
They're just like that. All they want is power.
They're like the anti-A team, aren't they?
They drive around in a van.
And nobody ever gets killed.
No, anti-A team. Everybody gets killed.
I have seen an exclusive. I once was showing anyone else an exclusive kind of clip from the new Spectre film. It's where Bond has got Spectre trapped inside a garage, and they managed to escape by modifying the van, the Spectre wagon. Now, so I'm excited for that. Andy, you like James Bond, and you've also chatting to your girlfriend, or one of your girlfriends, on your phone at the moment. So are you excited for the new James Bond film?
Yeah, I am.
Great.
How many girlfriends have you got at the moment, then?
I've only got one, Rob.
Raoul.
Anyway, now you brought up an interesting point a minute ago. You brought up the idea about the fact that they've not featured Blofeld a lot in the different films.
Yes. I mean, he's always been there, but they've kind of insinuated or implied or shown him from a distance, angles, whatever.
Yeah, for example, his last appearance in a film was in For Your Eyes Only, where Roger Moore famously gets into a helicopter and Blofeld remote controls it from his little wheelchair, kills the pilot, and then flies it around this kind of factory-looking area and through a building and all that. Rog climbs outside of it, gets into the seat of it, rips out the control cable, flies it, picks up Blofeld, carries him along to a large chimney and drops him in a chimney, and that's his last appearance, and he kills him off. And you tell me they're not realistic enough? What's wrong with you?
It sounds very cartoon to me.
Yeah.
Now, do you know why Blofeld wasn't featured after that, other than the fact he was dropped down a chimney by Roger Moore in a helicopter?
It's laughable. It's bloody comical.
It's not. I saw him do it.
Because he was the person...
It goes back to our age-old argument about Roger Moore movies being tongue-in-cheek.
The point is that, as with all things that you do, you snaky bastard.
Here we go. Snaky?
You are snaky.
The insults have to come out, don't they? Just because I'm making a point.
I'm saying that your behaviour is snaky, and that the argument was Sean Connery's films. You said Sean Connery's films were better than Roger Moore's. They're not better. Roger Moore has the better films. End of the story. It's my podcast. There's no point in anything else.
You can't just say that.
I'm cutting you out.
You say no, and you call me naughty names as well. I never insult you.
How have I insulted you? I just said
you could be a snaky bastard.
Your argument is snaky. You are being snaky. You always change it to, I will say Roger Moore's films are more exciting and more interesting to watch, and then you will say Daniel Craig's a really good James Bond. He's really realistic. That's not answering the question.
Window.
If I had time to sit down and write an essay of the real reasons, it would be very, very clear. Very, very clear.
Yeah, well, you've won that argument.
Yeah. Well, it's as valid an argument as you're saying, he's better, my podcast.
His films are better, and I open it up for public debate. And then you always go, I can't defend this argument, so I'll use Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig isn't even in this argument. Anyway, that's the end of that. You've been soundly defeated yet again.
Clearly.
It would be quite funny if you just beeped Paul out with whatever he said, if ever he spoke again. I just thought no.
That would be a bit childish of me, though, wouldn't it?
It would be very childish. I'm going to get beeped out now.
Anyway. So there's a reason why we've not seen Spectre sooner in this, and the reason why is this goes back to a massive legal battle that started off before any of the James Bond films were made, and it's between Ian Fleming and Kevin McClory. Now, basically, I've put a description on the screen there, but what happened was, before Dr. No came out, Ian Fleming was already interested in making a Bond film, and he spoke to lots of different people. They'd done like a TV show of it that seemed quite successful, and he wanted to make a film. And he got all these different writers around him, and one of them was a guy called Kevin McClory, and they started working on an idea for a film. And it was going to be called something like Bond of the Secret Service or something like that. They worked on it for a long time, and then eventually Dr. No got made, and Ian Fleming kind of became a bit disenchanted with Kevin McClory and his film writing work. And he took some of Kevin McClory's ideas and then went and wrote the book Thunderball, at which point Kevin McClory sued him and took him to court over it. There was a big long court battle about it, and basically all the film rights went for Thunderball, which is the introduction of Spectre, went to McClory, the literary rights went to Ian Fleming. So as time goes on, they made an agreement and they allowed them to use Spectre in like 4 films. However, by the time of For Your Eyes Only, they couldn't really afford to keep paying him off. So even though it's clearly Blofeld who dropped down the chimney, they referred to him as handicapped villain or wheelchair villain because they didn't want to use him. That's why he's not been used sooner. Now this year, not this year, in 2013, MGM and the McClory estate actually settled the issue with Danjaq, and Danjaq is a company that owns all the characters and the kind of the trademarks of Bond, and they acquired the full rights to use Spectre. So that's why I've not seen it already, because of this big legal issue over the fact that Ian Fleming might have stolen ideas from this Ian McClory guy and then this Kevin McClory and his cousin Ian, who no one ever credits apart from us.
Was Vincent Chunt part of the legal team?
Oh, we got. I don't know if all you know. I messed up Vincent Hunt, was it? His name last week and called him Vincent Chunt. He tweeted me.
All right.
And he said, I'm a big fan of the podcast. Something along the lines of a big fan of the podcast. Love Vincent Chunt. So yeah. He liked it. He liked our review of Red Mask from Mars. So Red Mask from Mars, go listen to it. It's a good comic book as well. So that's why we've not seen Spectre sooner, because Ian Fleming kind of stole some ideas. Although the name Spectre, I think, is Ian Fleming's own work, and that's why it's not been seen so far or in anything since For Your Eyes Only. Anyway, I got more spoilery-filled goodness for the new Star Wars films.
I think that you don't need spoilers for Star. They're going to manage this all by themselves. The spoilers, well.
I'm looking forward to the Star Wars films. Now, I spoke last week about the idea that Han Solo is going to cark it in this next film. More news. These are rumours, but they're all from a decent site that tend to get it right. So, apparently, the Rebels are going to have their own super weapon, as well as the Imperials in this, and there's going to be a big, epic face-off between them in this film.
It's like Russia and America with the nukes, Cold War, blah, blah, blah.
Possibly. Although I do know that the Rebels one is described as, they call it the sledgehammer, and it's seen in some shots that one of the sources that have said all this, kind of smashing straight through Star Destroyers and going straight through them and destroying them. Apparently it looks amazing. The end of the film, there's a big ground and space-based battle, and they say that this giant sledgehammer secret weapon is up there destroying Star Destroyers. On the ground, the Imperials have this thing called the Imperial Catapult. So I'm assuming is it just like a massive catapult that they're going to fire huge rocks with? It's not ready to use, and so there's an order given to use this thing called the array, and it basically will wipe out everything in orbit around the planet, Imperials and the Rebels as well. They've described it as the special effects and stuff for it are going to be amazing, and this Imperial general decides that as a kind of chess-type move, he will destroy his own men along with the Rebels who are in orbit. And they've said that the scenes of this sledgehammer, this giant ship breaking up and falling down to the planet, is going to look cool. Other news is that Princess Leia is now Queen Leia in this, and that her and Han Solo have separated. And so that when they actually meet each other again, they're going to try and get back some of that kind of bitchy kind of to and fro that they had in the first films.
You mean love?
Well, look, we can fall out with someone and not love them. That's true, isn't it? You can.
Yeah.
You've had arguments with people that you don't get on with.
Yeah.
Even just today, a few minutes ago.
Yeah, and you know that my love for you is wild strong.
I want to let you know I've just beeped all that as well. Anyway. Which leads me on to, again, another the trailer that I couldn't shape as the computer screwed up. It's called Aurora.
In the Star Wars film, there's no storyline. It's just special effects of starships.
No, there is a storyline.
There is a storyline.
The rough storyline, as far as I get it, is that there is some of the Imperials are still around, and they're gathering their forces, and they're going to face off against the rebels who are, from the end of Return of the Jedi, 30 years later. So the battle, they didn't completely destroy the Empire there. There's this storyline of this evil Sith type character, Kylo Ren, who may well be Han Solo's child, who is kind of working with the Imperials to build the secret weapon that they've got. The Rebels have got their own secret. Well, they're not the Rebels anymore, are they?
I was thinking that. Yeah, you can't really be a rebel if you're in government.
Yeah. Well, we'll deal with that later on. And so the story is going to follow them and also Luke Skywalker. They find his lightsaber. It falls to Tatooine, and so they go looking for Luke Skywalker. And at the same time, you've got the Rebels, who aren't the Rebels anymore, trying to get to this Imperial super weapon in time to stop it destroying the universe. And there's other stuff involved with it. But
destroying the universe?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bit radical. Blimey.
Only parts of the universe, then. The bits they don't like.
Right,
the other thing I wanted to talk about again, and you can go on YouTube and look up Aurora for this. This is another cool indie film by Vantis Pictures. It got its start and kickstart in 2013, and it's basically a love story set in a world that is ruled over by giant friggin' robots. Would someone like to do me the service of looking up on their mobile phone?
I've got it here. It looks stunning, by the way. I've seen this trailer.
So this is an indie film, isn't it?
Yeah. I've seen the trailer before. It looks gorgeous.
So we'll watch it now, and then I'll put it back in when we finish watching it. Right, so that was it. We were just watching Aurora. It's the storyline of... Oh, sorry, am I interrupting your sweet eating with my podcast? How terribly rude of me.
Sorry.
So the storyline is, in 2020, a supercomputer called Kronos concludes that human beings are the biggest threat to the planet, and then 60 years later, it's a love story set in a world run by machines, and the main characters, Kalia, is on her way with her friend Andrew to a lost city called Aurora, where apparently robots cannot enter. So we looked at the trailer. It's an indie film, we said already, by Vantis Pictures. It looks kick-ass, doesn't it?
Oh, it's good. Stunning.
It's good.
It looks really, really slick. Really slick. For an indie film as well, the production values are up there with any Hollywood.
I'd probably go and watch that. I think it looks nice as well. It'll be intriguing to see how much we see of the robots, because I'm hoping to see an absolute cartload of cool robot fighting.
Like Transformers, but better.
Yes, like a better Transformers. Now, one of the things about this is Kronos obviously was the father of Zeus, who famously ate all of his children in the attempt to stop Zeus becoming king of the gods. Will there be a good robot in this that then turns against its father? Or is the name Kronos chosen because it's a cool god name? Who knows? So yeah, you can find that. Look up Aurora, Aurora, and you can find that on YouTube, and we all reckon it looks cool, don't we?
Very cool.
Very cool.
Is the idea that these robots are going to kill all of mankind if they can hunt them down?
Well, as we were saying this last episode, that almost every robot kind of storyline eventually gets to the point where robots will eventually come to the conclusion that the only way they can keep order or peace is to kill all the humans. So that's why, well, quite regularly Rob will improve his computer. He'll buy some new RAM for it. He'll get a new hard drive. Raoul. And last Tuesday, after doing this, his computer tried to kill him. So he realised the only way to keep Rob's house stench-free was to end the big man himself and his dicky sphincter. Which leads us on to, and this is a new feature for...
Is it better?
Yeah.
Is it better?
You bum.
Think about it.
Yeah. It is a lot better, thanks. We weren't going to be discussing all this.
Have you had an approach?
I can't imagine how it sounds. You go, is it better? And you're there going, yes, it is.
I'd say out of concern.
Yeah, I've got to, regulate my diet and stuff, which has not been very good.
You just sat there eating boxes of chocolate.
I know. I'm not been very good at it, am I? But...
Jesus Christ. Just to let the listeners know this, before the show started, Raoul turns up with these 2 boxes of celebrations and then got Cadbury's Heroes.
Because you've got babies, I want to just say congratulations.
Yes, to congratulate us for having babies. He then sat down with the chocolate boxes next to him, opened them, and then has absolutely hammered them all night. I had 1 chocolate so far.
They've been over there for most of the night. I've not had that many.
We had to take them away from you. We were scared.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're doing a thing called Tech News, and the reason we're doing this is because this company contacted me through the power of the Twitter and asked me if I'd talk about this, because we did a special last week on Portal, a TV show, all about virtual reality, and they must have seen the hashtag virtual reality and decided that we might want to talk about them as well. So this is a thing called the Spacewalker VR. Now they're looking for money on Indiegogo.com. They've only got $1 so far. They want something like $500,000 for this.
The thing about Indiegogo is, whatever you raise, you get to keep. It's not like Kickstarter where...
We take a cut of it.
No. On Kickstarter, if you fail to meet your target, you don't get any of the money.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas on Indiegogo, you get to, whatever is raised, you get to collect. Now, the thing is, the argument for Kickstarter is you're going to need X amount of money to deliver, so there's no point in us giving you half the money because you'll be able to deliver. Whereas the argument for Indiegogo is any money's better than no money.
But then you have people being pissed off because that guy who gave the $1, he wants something back maybe.
That's right. But they might not have enough money to do all the R&D required to deliver on the actual project.
Now let me talk you through this. Now while I'm waiting, could you, Raoul, possibly go on to the Indiegogo project site? And I don't want you to start saying anything. I just want you to read what it says about it, and then I want you to tell me your thoughts. But you're not allowed to say anything out loud until you finish reading it. Because I think there's one big problem with their pitch on Indiegogo, which I think they need to sort out. But let me explain to the listeners what it is then. So the Spacewalker VR is the world's first gyroscopic controlled. I've copied this off them, by the way, before you start bitching about my spelling. This isn't mine.
Yeah.
It's the world's first gyroscope controlled motorised 360-degree turntable. Turntable.
What part of the world are they from?
Turkey.
Oh, cut some slack on the spelling then, because English probably isn't a native.
Yeah, it makes
I'm
it
not
sound like
funny.
a dick.
If you want £500,000 of people, get your spelling checked out. It's got 4 electromotors, pressure sensors, and what it is imagine a walking machine, but then with a circular base around it, in which the walking machine could turn the bed that you're walking on. It has like a seatbelt type thing and harness so you can't fall over. And then there's bits that come up at the side that then support you with kind of like a big circular armrest thing around it.
Sounds like a vomit machine.
So it sounds like a what?
A vomit machine.
A vomit machine.
Sounds like you could be like very sick.
Well, actually, that's one of the things I was going to talk about with virtual reality. Because I remember when I was a kid, when I was maybe just before university, they brought out those first kind of big virtual reality headsets that no one then ever wore ever again. But the idea is that they're saying that this is for gaming, but also it could be used for sports, in the idea that you could exercise in a virtual reality setting.
Have you heard of the Oculus Rift?
Well, they want that's going to fit into this, so you'll basically
Wear
have
that,
your Oculus Rift, wear it, and
because I remember one of my mates. He's a bit of I won't mention his name. But he's a bit of a big cheese in the world of tech, and he got a very, very early prototype given to him of an Oculus Rift. Went round his house. He stuck it on my head. He was controlling it while I was sat there stationary. I threw up. Because I just felt so... It was like a sick machine.
Had you took him round some boxes of chocolates to celebrate something and then eaten them?
No.
This is what I think of your celebration.
I then took the controller off him and had a go myself, and I still felt sick. It's just really bizarre to have this thing messing with your senses, because you're aware that you're not actually moving, but yet your eyes are telling you are moving. So perhaps this might help that. I don't know. If it effectively gives you the extra means by which to migrate through this virtual world.
They're saying it could be used for travel as well, in as much as that you're not really going anywhere, but you could. Well, they didn't say this, but I thought this when I looked at it. Imagine if you could hire over the internet these little kind of this is all my own invention. These little caterpillar track things with like camera things on it, and so you could walk around foreign places and then watch some street thug kick the crap out of the little robot you've just hired. But that'd be quite cool if that say places that maybe somewhere that's of historic importance that is quite delicate, you don't want trashing. You could actually have, instead of you actually going up to it, you could send these little
virtual reality tour of
I
it,
don't necessarily see the social aspect in this, because, you know, looking at a virtual Sistine Chapel and walking around a virtual Sistine Chapel, who gives a crap? There could be some real practical uses here, though. If you're, for example, an engineer working in oil rigs or other things like that, really dangerous, hostile environments, so you could simulate a lot of things.
Well, that's one of the things that they've mentioned. They do say there's a plethora of uses for it. The fact that you could go somewhere that you would never normally get. So, in Andy's case, a girl's bedroom, he could find out what secrets lie within.
I've always been curious.
Are you excited?
States.
But yeah.
I see. It goes on to say, sorry, I've jumped the gun. It goes on to say Oculus Rift and Unreal Game Engine support, real tread. Actually, I mean, this doesn't sound like a bad bit of kit. Actually,
if you go on YouTube and look up Spacewalker VR, you can see a clip of a lady using it and walking around. I think it's exciting. I don't know how much they retail for each though, because it's quite a sizable. It's not huge, but.
Oh, they're going to be. I mean, Oculus Rift, from what I understand, is quite pricey as well. So these things always are, but there's enough geek appeal and enough academic appeal and enough industrial appeal here, I think, for it to work.
See, I'm not using Oculus Rift, but as I was saying earlier on, I remember when the first kind of headset things came out, and I'm sure there was cases of they had some in arcades as well. There's cases of some people going. Having weird kind of fits when they've been in them. They're bringing on kind of epileptic kind of fits and things like that. The original VR headsets. Where did they go? I remember that being the future.
There was a shop, well not a shop, but like an arcade in Nottingham that they set up. I remember seeing it must have been like early 90s. And they had all the machines, the things that you sat on with the big, the head bits that you put on. And I think they were charging an awful lot for people to go in there. I think also, from what I can remember, the graphics were pretty pap. When you actually had them on, they weren't brilliant, were they?
I remember the problem with that Nottingham one and why it eventually shut down, and it was to do with that people would you'd pay that however much money to go in there and be in a world where you could run around with guns. Then you left out and you realised you're in Nottingham and you could do that for free every day of your life. Or Shottingham, as it's known by some people.
I'm looking at the video of it now, and it looks a decent bit of kit. In all honesty, I'm quite surprised.
There's somebody doing exaggerated walking movements on it.
Well, to emphasise how you operate it, they are for the video. But I mean, it is as a means of actually. That's probably the most credible of gyroscopic walking thingy. What's it that I've actually seen?
Well, I can see there's a sort of exercise machine, because one of the exercise machines that I quite like the idea of, but looking at me, of course, I've never used one, is sort of a bike ride thing, and you can basically cycle through a virtual reality landscape, and then next time you do it, you basically race yourself. So you're always see the shadow of your previous performance, basically, so you can improve on your performance and sort of
or cry
every
yourself. Day that you're never as good as you used to be.
Yeah.
So I used to.
And I can see that with that. I can see you could have like a computer game based on that, and sort of have to power the character actually through a maze or something.
That would be quite interesting.
The thing is, looking at their awards in Indiegogo, the awards are all a bit rubbish. To be honest, they're nothing to do with the actual bit of kit. You get like a tablet holder or a laptop holder
to go on it when you bought it. So
so as a result of that, I can't see myself putting any money towards this, because I don't give a crap about a cup holder.
Do you know what I'd have done if I was doing those things? I would have, instead of giving away stuff like that, I would have given away like a, I don't know, like a key ring for it or some stuff like that, rather than like a cup holder for something that you might not be able to afford to buy. But
Well, it says here that the Platinum Club, it just says Platinum Club. I don't actually know what that means, but it's $2,349 USD. I'm assuming.
That's a Kickstarter. So you buy a certain level of a membership to this. They often do that. Like with Elite Dangerous, for example, if you give them so much money, then you have like a star system named after
But I'm
you.
assuming that actually gets you the unit, doesn't it? Or
I wouldn't have thought so, not for 2,350. You'd probably get a discount or something. But it's all going towards holodecks, isn't it? And I've never looked for the holodeck cup holder on Star Trek The Next Generation. It's like an overlooked market, isn't it? It's like, where's the cup holder in this thing? Jesus,
I'd love to have a holodeck.
but I said
Really?
they were on like Kickstarter.
That would go wrong, obviously.
Yeah, you use it for like smutty stuff that Paul used to do at public school.
In his holodeck. Was this the public school in the future that he went to?
I missed that.
Just changed you.
I think they should stick it on Kickstarter and offer some actual kit, and then it's like those people that did that hoverboard. Remember, like the hoverboard, which is completely impractical. It's basically a glorified maglev thing. It needs like a massive sheet of metal to work, and they sell for considerable sums of money. Yet they did really well on Kickstarter. So I think they should.
They need some cool merch to go with it, like a t-shirts and stuff like that.
It's just this is cool technology, but marketed very, very badly.
So yeah, you was one of the things I noticed, and I'm not going to pick on spellings and all that, although they do need to sort them out. Is at the end it says how they're going to do it, and it mentions we're going to make it successful with our lovers. Does it not say that?
Haven't got that far yet.
Right at the end. So when I read that, I thought,
They call
what
it
they mean is their fans.
anti-obesity tool. I'm sorry, if it's an anti-obesity tool, they've got to make it bigger so the fat kids can sit on it in the first place. And I say that as a
didn't
fat
you
kid.
also market your penis on the obesity tool? Yeah, it would need to be bigger because the young lady using it is quite slender, isn't she?
Yeah.
So they'd need to. But anyway, they could modify it. But it's an interesting idea, isn't it? We like that.
Yeah, we need good advices, not only funding, we need good advices from our lovers.
Yes.
All people can us help for a perfect virtual reality experience. Not only funding, we need good advices from our lovers to us or to our potential customers. This is not only a commercial project, this is a project. Yeah, they need to get somebody on to market this and stick it on Kickstarter. Stuff Indiegogo.
There we go.
Yeah.
So good idea. Needs to be marketed a bit better. Do you think they're going to make the cash behind it?
No.
And do you think that's not because it's not the
No,
idea?
I think the concept is good. I think the product's good. I think there's enough there to attract the attention. So, I mean, there are a few people I know that would stump up $3 or $4 grand for one of these, no problem. You know, definitely. But how it's marketed, the poor spelling, the fact that your perk consists of
It's more like the Dragon's Den now, isn't it? Than
a laptop
Paragon.
holder or a tablet holder. You know, who cares? So I would say take it off Indiegogo, polish it, stick it on Kickstarter, get a slick video made. Away you go. Oh, and offer some good, actually give people the chance to actually have one of these.
There we go. Spacewalker VR. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
Which leads me on to this week's quiz. Now, at the moment, Andy is in the lead with 3 points, or 3 wins. You get a point in the overall thing.
Quiz champion.
Oh, this is pissing me off. This is how the hell?
Sour grapes.
Yeah.
You know.
Rob
just
is in
do it so
second
we
place
can
with
beat
2
it.
points, and every single person else has got 1 point at the moment. Now, Dan Butcher, who we all know from the first episode, is the writer and artist behind the wonderful Vanguard comic. Go to vanguardcomic.com to look at it. It's all about Super
It's
Team. It's awesome.
Schwarzenegger. Is this all about Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
Cook is a bloody, Cook
No.
licks posters of Schwarzenegger.
It's a tad extreme.
You've got you've got books by him and everything.
No,
We've got anything like that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger can write.
Yeah, bodybuilding books,
Oh,
good ones.
photographs only then.
I wonder if my recording device, my phone, can pick up the very strange noises that your daughter's making.
They're not strange. She's shitting herself as we speak.
Well, at least 2 of us are there. So this is. I've decided to rename this Ultimo Geek. That's the new name for the quiz. It's a sci-fi Schwarzenegger by Dan Butcher. We're getting ready to play. So are we sticking to, as individuals or a team and individuals? How do we want to play this?
Can I go with Andy, please? No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I'll go with Paul James.
So then,
I asked all your questions.
No, I've got my own.
Okay then. So and are you a team together?
I'm going to change something about this baby.
It's nappy, I assume.
Yes.
Rather than its arms or something like that.
No.
Robot arms, baby.
Like Kronos.
So
I've got strange smells coming out of it.
Come on, sorry,
Oh.
do that.
are you both doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we both
That's a
need
team
to do
effort.
that.
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
We know what it's like to have a baby. In fact, Lisa sometimes tells me what it's like to change it.
No, she's
Unpleasant.
I think you
Anyway.
had my first nappy yesterday, did you?
Don't tell people the truth. It will take away from
A
my
weekend.
being an ass. Okay, so question 1. Are you all ready? So as always, show me your fingers in secret so that someone can't steal the
I can
answer.
give you one finger right now.
Hello, saucy. Maybe after the quiz. Question number 1. In the aborted James Cameron Spider-Man film, which character was Arnie reportedly lined up to play? Was it A, the Lizard, B, Spider-Man, C, Doc Ock, or D, the Rimmer?
Got to hide your numbers.
And the answer is 1 point to Rob. It was Doc Ock they're bringing him on board to play. So
Raoul.
1-0 to Raoul. 1-0 to Raoul.
What? You're not so clever now by yourself, are you?
Lisa, can you try and remember the scores if possible? In The Running Man, what infamous incident had Arnie's character been framed for? Was it A, the Camptown slaughter, B, the Alcatraz breakout, C, the Bakersfield massacre, or D, the Kessel Run?
Oh.
So I've got everyone's answer point with yours, Paul. So Camptown slaughter, Alcatraz breakout, Bakersfield massacre, Kessel Run.
I can't remember.
I'm beginning
What's
to
it for
down
years?
myself.
So you're going with the Kessel Run from Star Wars. And the answer is the Bakersfield massacre. So we've got Andy on 1 point.
Ben Richards.
Rob
the
on
Butcher
2
of
points.
Bakersfield.
Who is the host of the TV show Running Man? Is it A, Dirk Kierman, B, Ben Richards, C, Mary Hinge, or D, Damon Killian? So you're going, yes. And what's your answer? So the host of the TV show Running
sorry.
Man. Okay then, so the answer is Damon Killian. So now we've got Andy joint.
No! God, I'm not doing very well this week.
Paul is in third with no points. Rob, you've got 2 points, and you've got now 2 points. Am I correct in saying yes? Next one. In arguably Arnie's greatest film, Predator, he led a special forces team who are wiped out by an extraterrestrial hunter. Who was the first in the team to be eliminated? Was it A, Blaine, B, Hawkins, C, Poncho, or D, Chopper? And the answer is Hawkins. So,
Hey.
moving into the lead, we have Andy, who now has 3 points.
What?
Rob is in second with 2, and Paul is in third place with 1.
Rob's got 3.
I've got 2.
See?
No, you got
You got 1-1, did you?
He goes 3, 2, 1.
Right, okay.
So Andy's in the lead. Another famous victory on the cards. Can I just say that I never said to the guy, to Dan, to do it on this theme. Total Recall was based upon a story written by author Philip K. Dick. Which other piece of Dick's work was initially developed as a sequel to Recall? Was it A, Valis, B, Minority Report, C, Ubik, or D, 50 Shades of Grey? Oh, Raoul, that's disgusting.
Sorry.
So the answer was Minority Report, which means Raoul is now joint first
Sorry, Lisa.
with 3 points with Andy, and Paul is trailing. He's just hiding from that horrific smell from Rob's mouth. and-
Oh, the dog's farted as well.
It's probably you.
Good on you, Dash.
Yeah, good boy, Dad.
He's well trained.
And in a revenge gas attack, the dog jumped up on the sofa, turned its arse towards Rob, and then farted on him.
give that usual that little wink.
You can't train. So, as I said already, neck and neck at the moment. Terminator 2, in which high security hospital was Sarah Connor being held? Was it A, Pescadero, B, Paddock, C, the unit, or D, KFC? So Pescadero, Paddock, the unit, KFC. Am I counting your thumb? No, I'm not counting. Am I counting your thumb, Rob?
No.
And the answer is Pescadero. Andy moves into the lead again. 4 points
I think
to
he's
Andy.
hedging his bet. I think he's just going for what we,
What rating does Batman and Robin currently hold on Rotten Tomatoes?
Crying out loud.
I'm take,
Is it
take
A, 8%, B, 2% fresh, C, 11% fresh, or D, 69% fresh? And the answer is 11% fresh. Andy moves further into the lead. You've just put another finger up, you cheating git.
It's like, what's that, 2.5?
I had 3 up originally. I had 3 originally. Honestly, you didn't see it.
So, okay then. So, Rob now has 4 points. Andy has 5 points. Paul, you got 1 point.
I wasn't cheating.
The Terminator has been sent back in time to which year? 2028, 2029, C, 2031, or D, 1999? You got your answer? You have to wait 1 moment because I've actually forgotten what the answer is. So bear with me while I look it up on my answer sheet. We'll probably stop the quiz there. Keep your answers there, gents.
Are you indicating the number by doing this repeatedly? 2, 4, 6, 8.
Rob's looking on his phone.
No, I'm not.
You clearly are, you cheat.
No, I'm not. I'm looking at the side.
Is it a new phone?
It's a new phone, yeah, and I think I've scratched it already.
Isn't it?
Oh. Anyway, the answer was... Bear with me.
I'm
when
not
I
moving
get
my
it.
fingers. In fact, I'll put them there for everyone to see. Andy, you haven't got yours up yet?
I've got mine up.
All right, okay.
Sorry about that, listeners. I normally memorise all the answers to this one, but this is one question I didn't actually know the answer to. And the answer is... Bear with me. The answer is... B. 2029.
Hey.
So,
Wow.
a late...
2.
A late comeback from Paul, who now has 2 points, and he's got 5, and Raoul has got 4. Let's just put this back on again, and then we can continue with the greatest quiz man has ever seen. So,
You know what? I'm going to write. I'll knock it up. It'll only take me a couple of hours. I'll get us some buzzers, and we can silently say A, B, or C, and then the things appear on your screen, and then no one can be accused of cheating, because whatever is submitted, that's it.
and you will program this.
Yeah, it'll take me a couple of hours.
We'll never see this.
Yes, we'll never see this. Right, which god does Conan pray to? Is it A, Hester, B, Tulsa, or Thulsa, C, Crom, or D, Thanos? And you're going for Thanos
Yeah.
from the Marvel Universe.
Oh,
And
shit.
the answer is Crom. So Paul now has 3 points. Rob stuck on 4.
Raoul.
Andy, Raoul stuck on 4. You could catch Raoul.
Might be able
Oh,
to do it.
Andy
Might do it.
moves into the lead on 6 points. What was the name of the company in the 6th day which would clone or replace a beloved pet? Was it A, Petback, B, Repet, C, PetGen, or D, Heavy Petting? So let's have your answers, please, gentlemen. And you've all gone for PetGen, and the answer was Repet.
Oh.
So that was...
Newcastle.
So at the end of that quiz, then, we've got Andy still the supreme champion on a massive 6 points. Raoul, you were on 4 points, and then coming in a very close third, we had Paul, who had 3 points.
This is what, those first 2 quizzes, it's only because
You
you've
went
got...
all or nothing on the spot quiz.
It's all because... No, I didn't actually. I was supposed to do that. I trashed you. I was like 8 or 9 points ahead of you.
Anyway, so as far as it goes on a weekly basis, we now have Andy on the lead with 4 points.
I feel cheated.
You on 2 points, and everyone
Why is he
else still on 1
4
point.
points? He was on
Yeah,
3.
yeah, but now he's won another week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's hammering you, basically. That's what we're saying.
But technically,
Quiz
2 of
champion.
those weeks he didn't actually win.
He did win. He teamed up with people.
Yeah, but that that was the agreement at the time. It's not just like tonight was individuals.
You either win the game of
I beat you in a
Thrones
team,
or you
or I
die.
beat you as an individual.
So basically, you've hammered him on all fronts.
But you were in my team at one time. That one time you won, you were in my team.
Oh, can we all just say thank you
carried you.
to Dan Butcher for making the quiz this week?
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Can you, not suck up to, the steroid spinach and broccoli and chicken and rice and KFC man?
Rob, that's you.
Who,
He doesn't eat KFC
Who
anymore. He had a
sleeps
nasty
with-
experience.
who sleeps with pictures of Schwarzenegger and licks his books.
Anyway,
If you have a quiz about Amigas, I'm good with Amigas. I'm just putting that out there.
As in Amiga, as in Commodore.
Commodore Amiga.
well, I don't want to give you a sneak peek, but wait till next week's quiz.
I'm going bowling up on Amigas now.
It's not going to be about
About
Amigas.
Atari STs.
Oh.
Anyway, let's move on to Comic of the Week. So, because we've done so well, we've had no babies screaming yet.
We haven't, they've been very well behaved.
Apart from Raoul.
Yeah, apart from, oh yeah, when he lost the quiz, you big baby.
Big baby.
Comic of the Week then. We were sent this, and you know what? When someone says they want to send a comic, you always think to yourself, oh, is it going to be something crap? But luckily, it was really good. In fact, every comic we've done this week, and that we've ever covered has been good, otherwise I wouldn't cover them. This is Edge of Extinction. It's by 8th Continent, which is the name of the publishing kind of group that put together for it. It's created and written by Baden James Maloney. Created, illustrated, and lettered by Paul Pert Smith.
These all public school boys then?
Oh,
Paul, do you know them?
I know all of them. In fact, they are actually...
Did you go for tea with them and stuff?
They're me, actually. Yeah.
And cover and book design is by Stephen Sampson. And actually, on the copy they've sent me, which is the first issue, there's some variant covers by David Milgate, Ryan Brown, Blank. So I've let the chaps have a look at this. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is that the front cover, the covers look brilliant, don't they?
I think the whole book is stunning.
Yeah. Well, the covers, the artwork inside's different from the covers. And the way we described it when we spoke earlier was, me and you, Raoul, was this very kind of Frank Miller-esque.
Yeah.
It's this kind of cool, scratchy way of in simple lines and using blacks and whites to capture a scene, and it works really well, doesn't it?
It's gorgeous, honestly.
What was it you said about it?
Well, it's not completely fair. I mean, The Walking Dead it's very evocative of that, but that's because it's zombies basically.
Well, actually, he addresses that at the end of this first issue. There's some writing about it, and he talks about the fact that it's clearly. I think he started working on this before The Walking Dead came out. He's been working on it for a long time. If you read his blurb, but he says, yeah, there is obviously similarities between this and The Walking Dead. However, the big difference he points out is that this is set in England, Bedford, England. He bases all the places on this from places that have been in his own life. This is the writer, this Baden James Maloney's life. So the part in Bedford is where he used to live with his mate. Some of the places he visits are all places he knew. So they're all real places. And in this storyline, it's different from The Walking Dead in that England's been quarantined after an outbreak. The rest of the world at that point is normal. But no one's allowed in or out of England at that time. Still fighter jets fly over it, kind of checking it out and stuff like that.
Is Wales okay?
It was the first to go. Well, actually, no, nothing happened to Wales because they found out that they already were zombies. So, and apparently the outbreak begins from a sheep. So,
as an STI.
So he's good. He wants to deal with the fact, as well as just the small scale picture on the ground of the trying to survive the main character. He wants to deal with what would NATO do in that circumstance. Do they invade England?
Probably nothing, because they're NATO. They don't do anything, do they? They sit on their hands like they're in some sheep strip joint, and just let them all pass by.
Hang on, that's you.
Wouldn't that be good if in the comic every week there was at least a page or so where it says NATO headquarters and it cuts them saying, should we do something about England? And we went, nah.
It's very dreamlike, the artwork, isn't it? It's sort of, I suppose, nightmare.
Yeah, but it's kind of loose as well, and the use of grey is quite. The main character has this cool tattoo on his back, which is just shown with grey on there. But yeah, I like the kind of the quick. There's a real sense of movement to it as well.
And I like the idea that the first 12 to 16 issues will be based over one day.
Yes,
Because that'll be quite, there'll be a lot going into that in a short time scale. So it'll be quite interesting to see how that pans out.
so yeah, I love the look of it. And to be honest, if I was as a aspiring comic book artiste would take something from it, it's the fact that I will spend ages slaving over each individual panel.
I would actually say that, never mind our comic of the week, of all the books that we've looked at since we started doing this, I actually rate that above, as the comic of all of them.
The comic of all time.
Of all the podcasts to date. It is lovely, really lovely.
Well, as a Dan opinion, there's been lots of the good ones. I find it very difficult to choose between styles. Obviously, you're allowed your opinion, Raoul. But there's other ones which we've done which I've liked the style, but I don't know if I would say that I like them more. I like them in a different way, and that's not just the coward's way out.
No,
it's very hard to. Well, for example, my comic book, which I'm eventually, when I've got it all put together, will be comic of the week. And I'll put each
comic of the century.
Yes, it's the best comic we've ever done. It's by me. But yeah, I really like this, and I like the way it looks deceptively quickly drawn, some of this, but they capture it so well, and I'm sure it wasn't. That's something you kind of got to work at to get that. So in the first story, it kind of starts out with this guy, and he's at home. The postman comes, and then the postman goes. Then he gets another knock on the door, and someone's ripped the postman's throat out, basically. And the first issue finishes off with what you assume is a zombie kind of break into this house after the police have turned up and all that. Now, one of the things that they want to do with it is they want a lot of reader interaction. So if you go to their website, www.edgeofextinction, all one word, .co.uk, or 8thcontinentpublishing.com, they're interested in, they're going to be starting up a Kickstarter soon, and if you say you put some money behind it, they want to put people in it, so you can actually send them a photo of yourself, and they will put you as a character in the comic book. And I think
that's a very cool idea. Yeah.
And I think they're interested in as well is that as the book goes on, they're going to give people the chance to maybe have some input over where the storyline develops.
So, according to this, they were looking as far back as 7th of September 2013 to do the Kickstarter. So this has been in the making for a long time.
Oh yeah, the guy's been writing it longer than that as well. I think you can tell it's paced really well, this first one.
When do they plan to do the Kickstarter?
He hasn't said, however, I'm sure he'll listen to this, and then if he tweets me, I will tweet it and let everyone know. Now, if you want to meet this dude, so you go on the internet at edgeofextinction.co.uk or 8th Continent Publishing, all one word, .com. If you want to meet him, he's actually doing a signing at Close Encounters Bookshop in Bedford on May the 30th. If you want to find out about that, go to closeencounters.co.uk. And you actually meet the man himself with some of the rest of the team, his artist and his cover artist as well. So it's a really nice looking book. What did you think to it, Paul? Because you're an artiste.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it looks really deceptively sketchy. I think the style of it is deliberately designed that way. There's a lot of details in there, a lot of well drawn bits to it. And yeah, I like the story as well. I think I would echo everything that's been said. Particularly the idea of being written into it. I like the idea of, people who are interested in it being able to direct where the story goes a little bit. Yeah, I like that. We could even maybe have different places that you yourself have been to. Places that
not
you
What's the Empire Geek email address, dude? Does it
what do you want to know? Sorry.
Yeah, the email address for the podcast.
You can go and find us at Empire Geek. Twitter, that is just Twitter. Empire Geek. If you look us up on Twitter.
No, the email address.
Oh, empireofgeek@hotmail.com.
Good.
Actually, what would be a really interesting idea is writing in people that you really can't stand. They get their throats ripped out, like people who interrupt you a lot.
Well, like your boss.
Like during web.
Or, like closet public schoolboy Tories.
I can't believe that, as you're saying that, he's actually interrupting you as well.
I'm just wondering whether or not we could, write in descriptions of people, or even some photos of people that we despise, and have their hearts ripped out in front of them.
Let's go for a different opinion on this. On the front cover, we see a zombified woman, and inside we see only.
A woman out of interest.
She's a worse woman.
You got to interrupt you because otherwise you will get bloody word in.
Oh,
with the big words.
Truth bomb.
It's like
Anyway, moving on.
It's like BBC
Moving on.
Question
Anyway,
Time.
moving on.
Inside, I've checked it
Moving
again.
on. Anyway, moving on.
Can I continue,
Where
please?
are you getting your phone from?
Because David
Anyway,
Dimbleby
what were you
would
saying,
stop
Steve?
you
Sorry?
from interrupting.
Would you mind? I'm doing a bloody show and you're having your argument. Inside, I think
No
all the main characters that were featured, for all the characters that are male, doesn't that boil your blood, Erin Bell?
Yeah, if I'd seen the comic, I would.
Have I not passed it to you?
No.
Oh, sorry, but you did knock it off the chair first when I left it when you came in. Do you have a quick look through it, if you can possibly? Flo, you might have to turn the pages. Sorry, Erin. You were busy with a child that was pooing, though, so fair's fair.
But to be fair, there's only like 4 characters described in it in the first.
I'm just
or
trying to
maybe
start an
5.
argument. I want Dr. Bell to wade in there with her gender hammer and start laying the smack down.
Yeah, at the moment I feel like this is being flashed past my eyes. I'm not really taking. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean about the tattoo on his back. It's very nicely done.
He looks a bit like Wolverine as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a self-image?
That's the main character in it, but
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's hard to tell from the first. I take it this is the first episode.
Newsreaders,
Yes.
the newsreaders female
Mm,
turns up in one panel.
yeah.
Yeah, and she dies because they all die.
she
Why isn't
doesn't die.
Everybody
She doesn't die.
dies.
Everybody dies. It's a zombie book.
Yeah, I have no strong feelings either way at present, given that, as I say, this is the first episode, and I'm not really taking. This
You've got
in.
you've got a baby, haven't you? That's
Because
why.
you're sleep deprived and you've not slept properly in the last 3 weeks, probably.
No, actually, I'm surprisingly well for someone who's so sleep deprived. I thought I'd be dead by now, but that is not the case.
But you rose
I'm
again.
surprised.
You've got to destroy her brain. But yeah, so that's it. We won't wait on. But if you have any ideas or thoughts on it, if you want to chime in along the way,
It looks very interesting. That's my idea and thought. My one idea and thought.
I was going to say, if later on, if you have an opinion, just put it in there. That's what women do.
Yes.
Anyway, so why am I being robbed for the show at the moment? I don't know. So that's comic of the week. So we all like the look of that, don't we? Wicked.
Yes, good.
Yes, looks cool. Is it as good as Initial D, Andy?
Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah,
What's your
Quite
favourite
good.
comic ever?
it's not my favourite comic ever. It was just one that I actually read.
Okay, let's look then. I've chosen 2 conventions that we're going to talk about. Conventions that are upcoming. First one of these is the 17th to the 19th of April in Port Merion. It's called Port Mericon.
I hate Port Merion.
That's a bit random.
No, as a child, I was dragged. It took forever to get there, and I was dragged around there.
And did you keep trying to escape?
Yeah, it just looked
And a
freaky.
big white ball chased you down.
Chased after me. No, I just got fed up with it. Anyway, I'm sure the convention will be good, but I won't be going because it's Port, and it's just a weird place.
I bet Roll was number 2.
Honestly, I've never been stuck on a bus with my dad. Just we'd go there for a day trip because he couldn't drive, and it just took hours, days to get there. Sit there.
Did it really take days to get there?
It's in the middle of nowhere, Port Merion. It's like
Yeah,
honestly.
but it's in
Well,
Wales.
not
You could
that
drive across it in.
It's just getting there. You got to honestly. I throw up because of all the windy roads, and then you'd go and have some tepid tea and a Welsh cake. It wasn't as good as my grandmother's Welsh cakes. And then we get on the bus and we drive home, and that was it. And it'd always rain as well.
Did you ever ask your parents whose side they were on?
Anyway, so that's you. That's you burying that convention then. But anyway, for anyone who didn't get forced to go there on a bus and drink shitty tea and crap cakes,
It's
a
a line for the prisoner.
yeah, it's going to be. It's obviously it's a celebration of the TV show The Prisoner, and on the screen at the moment you can see some photos I nicked from the website of some previous Port Mericons where you got people all dressed up as characters from The Prisoner, and they do a ton of different things. However, I want to make it clear that if you want to really enjoy this event, you need to be part of the official Prisoner fan club, which is called, what's the bloody name of it? 6 of 1. So you need to basically go on to that and become a member of 6 of 1, because if you go along and you're not a member of the fan club, you can enjoy the outdoor events where I imagine they do told versions of the episodes from The Prisoner or scenes from it, but you can't do any of the stuff indoors. So if you want to go to this, go on to 6 of 1 and join up. There's going to be a ton of stuff, reenactments, screenings, discussions, costumes and guests. If you're a fan of The Prisoner...
You'll want to join up because you'll want to go indoors because it always rains.
You're from Wales and you're absolutely burying it now.
It just rains all the time.
Oh, when I went there it didn't rain.
Must just be me then.
When I went there, one of my contact lenses fell out. I didn't have a case for me, so I had to walk to the nearest town or village, to get some more contact lens fluid. How far away is the nearest village from?
1 million miles. It's about as far as the sun.
It took me forever to get there. I got the fluid, I came back, and I was well happy with it. And then, if I don't know if any of you have contact lens fluid.
I used to, yeah.
There's 2 different types, isn't there?
Mm.
There's the kind of...
and you didn't stick it in your eye after you disinfected it with H2O2.
I certainly did. How hard is it to open your own eyelids when you are screaming in pain and crying?
Oh no.
So that was so hard to get that out of my eye again. It's like, I'm bad.
I've done that. Yeah. The worst is actually falling asleep with your contact lenses in for like 8 hours when they're monthly disposables, and then trying to open up and realising that your entire world's fogged over and you can't see, and it's actually become part of your cornea.
Oh God.
Yeah, that hurts.
Getting a butter knife and slowly edged it under.
Yeah, that's bad. It's like your eyes growing around it.
I once put my contact lenses away into one of these cases where you put the fluid and then it disinfected overnight. And I took one out and I took the other out, and I must have put that in the same side. So I took, opened the container and I put one in, or I thought it was one. I was like, I thought that's really grainy, I can't see properly. And both of them had perfectly sort of caked in together. Yeah. So I couldn't actually, see properly. And I thought, oh my God, I can't actually see anything. But that was not good either. So when I took it out, it was like quite scratchy. Jesus.
I once fell asleep thinking I had a contact lens in there.
I've done that as well, and then you switch around on your eyeball, and it's like
I couldn't find the damn thing because it wasn't actually there. Yeah. All the time doing this.
No.
I woke up one morning and there was no pain, but I still had my contact lenses in, and I thought that my vision had come back. I was like,
and then you recalled being bitten by a radioactive spider the night before.
No, so I just remember waking up and being like, nothing's blurry. I can see again.
Yay!
Yay! No, that's right. That's right.
That's what laser eye surgery does.
Yeah, but you...
Have you had it done?
Yeah, for vanity reasons, obviously.
I haven't. Just made life a bit easier.
High risk,
for sports and stuff.
You do one eye at a time, so that, in case it goes wrong,
We had a colleague who had one done, didn't we? We know somebody who had it done, and their eyesight went a bit dodgy in one of their eyes, didn't it?
Yeah, well, they was told not to remove his protective goggles or whatever. He went straight, and the car park took him off, and it was like, he didn't listen to instructions. He's an idiot. Now, the thing is, Andy, it wasn't just vanity with you. You needed him doing, didn't you? No, because it's true. Andy had real difficulty with kind of small right. In fact, anything very small he couldn't see. So it was nice to see his genitalia after all the time.
Again, steroids.
I'm feeling that roid rage right now.
Stop taking them.
And
like sesame seeds.
The next one I want to talk about, and because the internet is it still down at the moment? Yes. I'm going to need to remember who the guests are. Is Wales Comic Con, which is held at Glyndŵr University, which is mine and Raoul's old one of my universities.
It was called Nowie back then, and it was full of Welsh nationalist idiots.
No, it wasn't.
What you mean?
I never met any.
I've never been a Welsh. I've been Welsh, proudly Welsh, massive Welsh rugby supporter, but never a Welsh nationalist.
Can we be clear on his support of Wales? If Wales win a rugby match, he suddenly becomes the biggest fan in the world. When Wales lose, not a mention of rugby, not even interested in it. You are so fair weather with your support, it's unbelievable.
I'm half English though.
Yes, which half of you?
Well, my dad's English. So I can kind of, if so inclined, I can kind of
No,
No.
we won't have you back, quite frankly. You filthy half-breed. So anyway, this is Wales Comic Con. This is held at the Sports Centre at the old university we used to go to. And I've been to Wales Comic Con, me and Lisa did. Famously, it's where you wanted to go and speak to Robsons and Jeromes, thinking that was...
Really? He's not making that up. You wanted wow.
What were they doing there?
The Extreme Fisherman.
It was Jerome Flynn.
Oh, well, he's all right actually.
Well, the other one's all right, I think.
He's in Game of Thrones, so
Well, yeah, that's why there's loads of Game of Thrones stars there. So if you want to find out about this, it's http... Oh, well, I don't do that, do I? Yeah, walescomiccon.com.
It's not the 1990s.
Yeah.
The internet.
www. Yeah, walescomiccon, all one word.com. You can go to that. It's April the 26th, 2015. And me and my better half went there and a few years ago. And there's tons of famous people who go to it. If you go to this one, you can meet Matt Ryan, who is John Constantine in the current TV series Constantine.
he's from Swansea, another Welshman.
Yeah, but he actually plays a non-knobhead in the films he's in. He's also the voice of Connor Kenway in the Assassin's Creed game as well.
Yeah.
There's going to be... Let me check my mind.
It's the guy on the actual picture in it, like the Doctor from Serenity.
Sean May, yeah, he's going to be there.
Ah.
He's definitely going to be. They do get loads of people, loads of Game of Thrones stars. They're going to have Warwick Davis. Is it Warwick Davis? Yeah. Ewok. He's going to be there. He goes to everything, doesn't he?
Yeah.
John Chalice is going to be there. Boise, who goes to a lot of things as well.
Yeah, why is that? I don't get that.
I have no idea why.
Why do you get... I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Boyce's a great character, but...
It's not very sci-fi.
Yeah, it's not really like comic-con-y sci-fi, is he? It's
Maybe just likes comic books.
probably, yeah.
Rob, can you do me a favour? Can you just look up the website and then tell me who some of the special guests are while I keep
What is
talking
it?
trash?
What's it?
Wales Comic Con, all one word,
I've
.com,
got to figure out how to turn this new
/film-media. I've got a great new phone. It's brilliant. I can't turn it on.
Okay, Google.
Oh, you don't
Wales
do it
Comic-Con.
vocally. We're doing a podcast. It's all around our luscious
Oh, hang on, let's
voices.
pitch your voice up. Wales Comic Con. What do you mean?
People have to
can't
listen
just
to
Google
this.
it?
You've got a shit phone.
Wales Comic Con. It's a 1+1. It's very. Oh shit. Wales Comic Con.
Brilliant phone. There we go. So anyway, there's going to be tons of people there. They're going to have a special...
Hang on, I'll type it.
Yeah.
I think I need to change my nappy now.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to that stage in life, have you?
Oh, I'm rapidly recurring, regressing even. No, I'm like the number pi. Hang on, that's not recurring. Anyway.
Okay, so you want the full
Maths
guest?
joke,
You want the
not
guest
G.
list, yeah?
It's not the full. Just pick out some notable people
Like one
for
of
us.
my
could you
jokes.
please?
But better.
Okay.
Uh,
Right. So we'll click on.
Oh,
Really?
I'm sorry. He's talking about somewhere in Wales.
Wales is a brilliant country.
It's not
We'll
a
get to
country.
visit.
It's not a country.
Well,
Principalities.
Yes,
well,
conquered
it was,
people.
but until there was some map passed. Their website's a bit rubbish. It doesn't render the images out properly
Oh dear.
on mobiles.
Just name
Hang on.
some of the people who are going to be there.
I'm trying to. It's just. It's loading.
Sean Ma.
Sean Mayer from Serenity is going to be there. Famous
Warwick
Doctor.
Davis.
Warwick Davis. Ewok.
Boise.
Boise, John Chalice. Hannah Sperritt from S Club 7 is going to be. She was also
Oh,
in
Jesus.
Primeval, wasn't she?
Is she? Let's go 7, eh?
Right, Warwick Davis.
Name the other members.
John,
Yeah.
getting down on the floor.
Sean Mahir
Brad's
from
Bradley.
Firefly.
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicholas
Rachel.
Rachel.
Brendan
That's
from
all.
Buffy
Tina.
Vampire
Tina.
Slayer.
Tina's doing her thing.
Hannah.
Hannah's
And
doing
let's call S Club 7.
Eve Miles from Torchwood.
Oh yes, yeah.
Another Welsh actress. She's going to be there because it's only like up the road. Who else? Matt Ryan.
You don't have to name the ones we've done already. Just the ones. Just you have to do everyone, by the way, because it's quite a guest list. That's the point I'm trying
Rob
to get
Van
to.
Dam, the wrestling legend.
Yeah, Mr. Monday Night. Rob Van Dam is.
Why is he called that?
Rob Van Dam was one of the. We don't do anything about wrestling, but I'm a big wrestling fan. So weird like that. He was in ECW, and he's famous for. He comes from Rob Van Dam. So he looks a bit like Jean-Claude Van Damme when he had a ponytail. He's an amazing wrestler, even though he's kind of cracking on a bit now for a wrestler. he's famous for kind of doing all flips and jumps and stuff like that. And
Why did you miss the Monday night though?
because one of the wrestling shows was on Monday night, and he basically would always steal the show.
Oh, right, okay.
His finishing move, the Van Daminator, where he would basically run at someone holding a chair, kind of throw the chair up, and then kind of flying kick the chair into them.
Dean Andrews from Life on Mars and Ashes to Ashes is going to be there. You know the guy with the tash?
Yeah, he played the kind of brutal one.
He is actually a really decent bloke, because I was in London once on the tube, and I was 20p short, right, for the machine. And he didn't know who, I did acknowledge that I kind of knew who he was, but he knew I was struggling a bit. So he just gave me 20p and walked off. Didn't ask, didn't say, I'm from Life on Mars, here's 20p or anything like that. He was just like, he just gave me 20p.
I'm from Life on Mars,
Here's
the TV
20p.
show.
Yeah, he didn't make a thing about it. He was standing, really decent bloke, so I still owe him 20p to this, So actually, I might,
Are you not going because you'll want your 20p back?
Well, no, I might go so I can pay him the 20p back.
So basically, we won't bother mentioning anyone else, but there's a ton of people. There's some cosplayers, though. No doubt, Raoul will start slavering over, as he always does. But there's loads of people going there. When we went, they had Kit, the Night Industry 2000 from Knight Rider there. It's pretty cool. And there's a bunch of cartoonists and creators of stuff. It's brilliant. If you want to go and meet famous people from TV shows, it's the place to be. So that's Wales Comic Con, April the 26th. And that's walescomiccon.com, and that is the show. So despite the fact the internet screwed up on us, we still did okay, didn't we?
You still didn't say the 7th S Club 7 member.
I'm sure I did.
No, John, Bradley,
Joe, Hannah, Rachel, she's doing
Tina.
Tina. There's one more, isn't there?
Yeah.
Was it Boris?
No.
Is that where Boris Johnson got his
man.
start?
It's
Paul.
Oh, Paul. He's the one. Oh, yeah, he's filled out of it, hasn't he?
Your hero's going to be there.
What?
David Prowse.
No, I don't dislike David Prowse. I just heard he's a bit of a tit. But yeah, Dave Prowse, Darth Vader will be there. What is it?
Chris Barry's going to be there.
He gets to everything, but Chris Barry is a great guy anyway.
Yeah, he's cool.
And Robert Llewellyn's going to be there as well, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right.
And Norman Lovett, because they're all doing the rounds, short of a few shillings. But yeah, that is the show. So just before we go, did you form any ideas, Erin? We didn't ask you either. I didn't ask you because you hate zombies, don't you? With all your science and nonsense.
Well, if the story's more than just the zombies, it's probably all right. Yeah. Did I form any what? Sorry.
Did you form an opinion in the quick flash that you gave, Erin?
I think what appeals to me is the idea that you can actually get involved in this.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly stuck on zombie type storylines, but I do think it's also quite cool that they are sort of bringing a regional or national, I should say, identity to this. Because in the US, whenever there's a zombie outbreak, people start shooting first and ask questions later. And obviously guns aren't quite as prevalent in England. So
he makes that point. There are not going to be any guns. It will just be people trying to survive the best way they can.
Yeah.
And the fact that only England's affected, that'd be quite interesting. Erin, did you have any points to make?
Yeah, zombie babies. Everyone thinks they're cute. They'll get you in the nose. I think this is going to happen.
They'll get you in the... That is the name of this episode. Zombie babies will get you in the night.
That's the thing you wouldn't have thought about before you had your own baby as well.
Yeah, there's a whole layer of potential here for zombies.
Doesn't having a baby change your life?
I've thought about zombie babies. Imagine in The Walking Dead, and now you've all had the baby. I don't feel bad saying this, but when women are pregnant and you start talking about the idea of a zombified baby scratching its way out of a mother's stomach and then bursting forth with the umbilical cord, but like a zombie mother with this umbilical cord kind of bungee jumping zombie baby that, imagine, when you get to a scene where they chase after someone, they shut a door and they don't quite get it shut, that she would kind of crotch humping her umbilical cord zombie baby through the door to try and get at people. Would that not be terrifying?
Well, do you think zombie babies might still be quite cute? Will they still retain that sort of, special baby smell?
Well, in the first episode of The Walking Dead,
she's
there's
got a special smell.
They
I
all do.
don't quite think it's the smell
it's
that
unholy.
you're talking
I was kind of thinking
Slightly
baby,
undead.
sort of baby Johnson.
But in the
baby
first
oil, that sort of
episode, in the first episode of The Walking Dead, there's like a little girl that he encounters.
yeah, that's
Shoots in the head, doesn't he?
That is true.
Yeah,
With
but
the
he
legs.
does hesitate. So
Yeah.
clearly,
Anyway,
There's whole levels of morality one he would not have those.
yeah.
But it
babies
breaks
in
the
there.
thermodynamics, so who cares?
Yeah, but there's also the Hollywood rule that you can't kill a child under 5. Is that?
Really?
Yeah, something like that. It's like
But
Alfred Hitchcock
but
once killed a.
Leon broke that though, because
Mm.
the entire family, apart from the little girl who survives and
Yeah.
becomes his sidekick, the entire family get killed, and
Yeah.
it was a real shocker. I remember in the cinema
Yeah,
when you realise the baby's been shot.
yeah.
It really was like bloody hell.
Alfred Hitchcock once killed a boy on a bus with a bomb.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
remember which film it was.
I was in a
But
film. Thank
he
God for
was-
that. I was going to say that. That monster.
You heard it here first. But he put
Well
himself.
known
He thought it
amateur,
was.
but-
He thought it was probably quite controversial. So he does cameos in his own films,
Yeah.
and he actually put himself next to the child who was supposed to deliver a bomb. To he didn't. The child didn't know that.
Good
It was
evening.
given a package to carry. But yeah, so that's not usually done in Hollywood films. Is killing
So if you want to make a film that's kind of
children.
breaking the kind of conventions, have a scene where like there's all machine gunning and only the children characters get hit constantly.
Mm.
The film is just kids being blown away.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the end of our. On that high note,
Have you seen Village of the Damned? What happens in Village of the Damned? Don't they come as...
but they're aliens at
They're
that point,
aliens,
aren't they?
yeah, so
In fact,
they
they always
can-
were aliens. Anyway, so say goodbye, Paul. You had a good time.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Raoul.
Bye-bye.
Andy,
Goodbye.
Florian.
Good
Goodbye,
night.
Erin,
Bye.
and goodbye from me as well.
That was ghastly.